All right, so we are going to continue with the long division that we were working on yesterday. So we were working on page 3, and we got partway into page 4. So I'm just going to start at page 4, do a little bit of review, and then if you don't have number 3 written down, make sure you're putting this into your notes packet, and so let's get started. So remember, when we do long division, we're going to take this first term right here. Actually, let me back up. We're going to take this term here, and we want to make sure it's in descending order in standard form, highest power first, down to the lowest power. If we were missing a number, let's say right here, we would write 0x if there was no x term. If there was no x squared term, we would write 0x squared. Okay? But anyway, so we're going to see what we are going to multiply x by to get to 2x cubed. And so that's going to be 2x squared. Now, once you get that number on top, remember, you're going to take this and you're going to multiply this term by both of these, one at a time. So 2x squared times x is going to give me 2x cubed. And that's what we want. We want those two terms to be the same exact thing. Next, I'm going to do 2x squared, and I'm going to multiply that by 5. And that's going to give me positive 10x squared. Okay, now remember, what we're going to do here is we're going to subtract. So I'm going to put that in a different color just so you can see it. We're going to be subtracting. All right, so we are going to do 2x cubed minus 2x cubed, which obviously is 0, which is what we want to happen. With the next one, we're going to do 11 minus 10. Just put it in your calculator if you need to. Okay, so 11 minus 10 is obviously 1, and we're going to bring down that x squared. Okay? All right, and you can put the 1 in front too. That's fine. All right, then we drop down the next term, and we're going to start all over again. So I am going to ask myself, what do I multiply x by to get to x squared? And that would be an x. So I'm going to put plus x here. And then we multiply this x by that x, and that's going to give me x squared. And then I'm going to multiply this x by the 5, and that's going to give me a positive 5x. Okay? And then we are going to subtract. So x squared minus x squared. Again, we always want those to cancel out, which they do. And then I'm going to do 7 minus 5. And 7 minus 5 is 2, and bring down that x. And then we're going to bring down the positive 10. And we're going to do this again. So what am I multiplying x by to get to 2x? So just by 2, right? So plus 2. 2 times x would be 2x. And then 2 times 5 would give me 10. And then we take these and we subtract them. All right, so 2x minus 2x, that's going to cancel out. And then 10 minus 10, well, that's also going to cancel out. So our remainder is 0. Okay, so our final answer would be 2x squared plus x plus 2. All right, so let's look at number 4. As I was saying in number 3, this is what I was referring to. So if you look, we are taking this polynomial and we're dividing it by the 2x minus 2. So that what we're dividing by goes out here. This polynomial goes underneath, but you notice I stopped here. And the reason why I did is, remember I said that we have to write this polynomial in descending order of the powers. So I have a cubed, then I have a squared, but I'm missing an x term. So if you're missing a term, remember then, all we're going to do is just put a 0 in its place. So in this case, 0x. And then we would write the plus 2. Okay? All right, so let's go. 2x into 2x cubed. I'm going to be multiplying by an x squared. And then I'm going to just distribute this x squared through to both of these terms. So x squared times 2x is going to give me 2x cubed. And then underneath, I will have minus 2x squared. Okay, and I'm getting that by multiplying this negative 2 times that x squared. Okay, all right, now we know that we are then supposed to take these and we're going to subtract them. And when I subtract right here, 2x cubed minus 2x cubed, remember we always want those terms to cancel out, so off those go. Okay, now let's be careful here. If you need to use your calculator, go ahead and use it. You're putting in negative 4, then the minus sign, then negative 2. Negative 4 minus negative 2. Okay? And if you put that in your calculator, you will get a negative 2. And then obviously we drop down the 2x squared. The x squared. All right, now let's bring down the next term, 0x. So here we go. What am I multiplying 2x by to get to negative 2x squared? Okay, and that is going to be a negative x. So when I multiply that negative x times this 2x, that's going to give me negative 2x squared, which is what I want. I want these guys to be the same, right? Okay, and then we're going to multiply a negative x times a negative 2. Just be careful, that's 2 negatives. So that's going to be positive. So we've got positive 2x. Close those. And we are going to subtract them. And we know those first terms, if we did everything right, those should cancel. And let's just be a little careful here. So I'm doing nothing, 0, minus 2. Put it in your calculator if you need to, 0 minus 2. Okay, and 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Let's bring down that x and that last term. Okay, so the last one, we're going to multiply 2x times, look, negative 1, right? Okay, so we're going to have a minus 1 here, and that's going to give me negative 2x and a positive 2 here. Okay, and then when we look, we are going to notice, I hope you're going to notice, just change my color here, that those terms are going to cancel out, both of them, okay, because a negative 2 minus a negative 2, that will cancel out, and 2 minus a 2, that will also cancel out. Okay, so we have no remainder left. So this is our final answer. All right, number 5. Please make sure you're taking notes. If you don't have these in your notes packet, they should be in your notes packet. All right, so I'm going to just double check. I've got a power of 2, a power of 1, and this is technically a power of 0. So we're all good here. I don't need to fill in any zeros anywhere. So I'm just going to get started and figure out what I'm multiplying this by to get to x squared, and that's going to give me x. And then when I distribute the x times this x, or multiply them, I'm getting x squared, and then I will be getting a plus 2x. Okay, and then we're going to subtract. So we know these guys cancel. And just be a little careful here. You're doing negative 11 minus 2. Negative 11 minus 2. Okay, and that's going to give you negative 13x. And let's bring down the 60, and here we go again. So I'm going to multiply by a negative 13 here, so that when I distribute this negative 13 times that x, that's going to give me that negative 13x. Got negative 13x here, and then I'm going to have, what, negative 26, right? Okay, that's negative 13 times 2. And we're going to subtract. So we know those guys cancel out. Let's be a little careful here. Negative 60 minus negative 26. Put that in your calculator just like that. Negative 60 minus, and then a negative 26. Okay? All right, and that is going to give us negative 34. Now, we do have a remainder here, okay? And we did this yesterday. So when we have a remainder, let's take our answer that we have here, okay? And I'm going to write it underneath here. So it's x minus 13. And then in this case, our remainder is a negative, right? So I'm going to put a minus here because that's a negative. If this was a positive, I would put a plus here, okay? All right, so I'm going to put minus and then 34, that's our remainder, over whatever we originally divided by, which is x plus 2. That's our final answer. All right, so number 6, I just want to show you, again, look at what is getting divided, and I'm missing an x squared term, so that's why I have a 0x squared here, okay? All right, so let's get started. So 2x goes into 4x cubed, 2x squared times, so to speak. Okay, so when I multiply this 2x squared times that 2x, I am going to get 4x cubed, and then when I multiply it by the negative 5, I'm going to get negative 10x squared. Let's subtract, and these guys will cancel out, and here we go. 0 minus negative 10. 0 minus negative 10 is positive 10x squared, and bring down the next term. All right, so I am now going to multiply by a positive 5x. And when I distribute that, I'm going to get 10x squared, and then minus 25x. Okay, we know those will cancel out. And I'm going to do 5 minus negative 25. 5 minus negative 25, which is going to give me 30. Bring down the x, and then the minus 8. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to be multiplying by a positive 15. And when I distribute that positive 15, and I'm multiplying it by the 2x, I am going to get 30x. And then here, I'm going to get minus 75. And remember, again, we're going to subtract, and the first terms will cancel out, and here we go. In your calculator, put negative 8 minus negative 75. Negative 8 minus negative 75. And that is going to give me a positive 67. So once again, we have a remainder. So our final answer is going to be 2x squared plus 5x plus 15. Okay, now let's just talk for a second. This is a positive 67. So if it's a positive remainder, then we put a plus sign here, and then we put the actual number, which is 67, over whatever it is that we divided by. And there's your final answer. Make sure you are writing this down in your notes packet. All right, so everybody turn to page 5 in your notes packet. Okay, please, please, I beg of you, make sure you're taking notes. These are always on the regions, and they're going to definitely be on your test, so I want to make sure we're all good with that. All right, so they're giving you a function, right? And then they're giving you another function. And look at what they're telling you to do to them. Look at the operation that they're telling you to do. Express f of x divided by, aka long division, g of x in this form. Okay, so I remember the first time this was on the Regents, and the kids did not know that they were really asking you to do long division here, okay? And so I know this is extremely confusing. I'm going to hold off on explaining this until we actually do the long division, but let me back up. Right here, this is saying divide f of x by g of x, okay? So in other words, here's my f of x divided by g of x. Well, that's exactly what you guys just did on number 6, okay, or number 4. If you look back at page 4, that's how it was written, just like this. So we're going to start by doing long division, and then, like I said, I'll explain what the heck that all means, okay? So why don't you take a minute, pause, and work this question out, and then you can come back and check your work. All right, so here we are, and there's our answer, okay? So remember what we were doing on number 6, where we took our answer and we wrote it like this: 2x squared plus 4x minus 2. And then remember, because our remainder was a negative, maybe that looked like a minus sign there, we put a minus here, and then we put our remainder over 2x plus 1, right? That was our answer, wasn't it? All right, well, guess what, guys? We did it. Because look at this. In the form of q of x, that's your quotient. That would be this, what we have right there. And then plus r of x stands for our remainder. And that's what we have right here, over what we divided by. That's what we have right here. Look, this g of x is this g of x, which is that. Okay? So it's just our quotient, which is our answer when we divide. And then in this case, we're subtracting, okay, because our remainder was negative, and it's our remainder over what we divided by. So we did put it in that form. They just worded that question so bizarrely that it kind of threw kids off, okay? And that is our answer for number 7. Okay, so let's look at number 8. So number 8 is very similar to number 9. The only difference is it's not f of x and g of x. If you look at it, they're asking you to do the same thing. They're asking you to take a of x, which is this polynomial, and divide it by b of x, which is this polynomial. And we're going to write it in this form. So remember, this is the quotient, your answer, plus whatever your remainder is, over whatever you divide it by. Okay? All right, so why don't you take a minute, and why don't you work out, we're going to divide this by that. Okay, so pause me, work it out, put the video back on, and we will check our answers. Okay, so now we're going to look at this last one, and I set that up for you just like we always would do, right? So we are dividing by x cubed plus 2x squared. That's going here. And what we are dividing is going right in here. Now this is a little bit different. So let's just look at the fact that I have a 1 here and I have a negative 3 here. Okay, so hopefully you see that we're going to be multiplying by a negative 3. But let's address the exponents, okay? So what I'm wanting is, I'm wanting to know, what am I multiplying this by so that I end up with an exponent of x squared? So we're actually getting smaller. And how much smaller are we getting? Do you see that I am decreasing the exponent by 1? So decreasing the exponent by 1 would be like that. Okay? And let's just kind of think back for a moment, if you will. If I had x cubed and I multiply that by negative 3x to the negative first power, I'm just showing you off to the side, okay? And what I'm showing you is I'm multiplying this by this, okay? If I do that, I technically have a 1 here, so obviously 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And think about what we're supposed to do when I have x to the third and x to the negative first. We have the same base. So remember, you keep the base and then you add these exponents. And 3, when I add it to negative 1, is 2. Okay? So you can see what I have right. You can see what I have right here. That is what I have right here, okay? All right, so again, then when I multiply these two, that's going to give me negative 3x squared. All right, so then let's look carefully. Now I'm going to multiply this negative 3x to the negative first times positive 2x squared. Well, a negative 3 times a positive 2, I know is a negative 6. And then remember, I'm doing x squared times x to the negative first. So we keep the base, which would be x, and we add these exponents, 2 and a negative 1. Okay, and that would just be x to the first, technically, which is what this is as well. All right, so we're going to put those in parentheses, and we are going to subtract, and those cancel out. Okay. So we're going to do negative 5 minus negative 6, which is going to be a positive 1x. And I'm going to bring down the next term. All right. So next, I want to know what am I multiplying x cubed by to get to x technically to the first, right? So let me put the 1 there just so you can kind of get a gist. So do you see I'm going, oops, I am going from a cube to a 1 power. I am decreasing by 2. So that exponent is decreasing by 2. So that means I am decreasing by 2. Okay? All right, so here we go. So now I'm going to multiply my x to the negative second times my x to the third. Remember, keep the base, add the exponent. So we're adding 3 and negative 2, and that's going to give me x to the first. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, x to the negative second times 2x squared. So that's going to give me plus a 2x. And let's think about this for a quick second. We've got a 2 and a negative 2. Remember, we're supposed to add those, right? We keep the base. That's where this comes from. And we're going to add those exponents. So that's going to end up being 0. Guys, remember that anything to the 0 power is 1. So really, what I have right here, this is really just 1. And what's 2 times 1? 2, right? So anything to the 0 power, I'm going to cross this out, but understand that it's really just a plain old regular 1, and I'm multiplying that 1 times that 2, okay, which is just 2. All right, so then we are going to subtract, and you should hopefully see these will cancel out and those will cancel out. So here is your answer right there, and if you look, that is answer choice 4. Okay, so make sure that you're taking notes in your notes pack.